Recording?
Yes.
Yes, and I'm going to start admitting everyone right now.
Okay, perfect.
Good evening. Good
Hello.
evening, everyone. Hi, I'm Carolina Wheats. I'm the host of the Artfare Thursday series, live virtual interviews and studio visits that we've been piling up, almost 25 now since quarantine. And tonight, very lucky to have Sinan Tuncay.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
And I know I've been able to say it in the past. And I should have practiced before I started recording.
People say Tuncuy. Here
Tuncay.
it's way better. I mean, it's easier for people, I guess. But originally it's Tuncuy.
Tuncuy.
Japanese.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Sinan, I know when we first met, I was like, I had a friend in grade school named Sinan. So it was really kind of fun. And it looks like right now you're in Turkey, or like your decorations are really fantastic. The yellow wall and all these small ornately framed works. Where are you?
Well, actually, I'm in Brooklyn. I'm in my apartment. But this is my husband, Sean's. Like he made it. He designed it. He's a collector and he's also like decorator, so he made it all. But I know it feels like it, like feel really like home.
Yeah, well, that's thoughtful of him to kind of create a space that feels comfortable for
Yeah.
you, but also just all of these smaller paintings. Where are they coming from? You said he's oh, that's nice too.
So many different places, like so
Mhm.
many different auctions or flea markets around the world. Like, yeah, he's just really into it. So yeah, each of them has a different story. I mean, I love being here, and especially yellow is my favorite color. And this yellow, it's really really a cool one.
Yeah, yeah,
And-
true kind of sunflower
yeah,
color. It's
yeah.
fantastic. Well, today we're going to talk more about your work. You're an artist, you're a director, you make videos, and you travel between Brooklyn and Istanbul and in your normal years. But when's the last time you've been to Istanbul?
It's been exactly a year. I came
Mhm.
back here from Istanbul end of October last year. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. I
Yeah. And that you had solo shows at your gallery, CAD, gallery or CAD or
C.A.M.
CAM.
Well, C.A.M. we say in Turkish.
Ah,
So contemporary art marketing, basically.
ah,
Mm, I had my last solo show in Istanbul last September to October, so that's why I was in Istanbul.
yeah.
I did that, and it was really fantastic. It was beyond my expectations, and it was very personal and challenging personal show for me.
Hmm.
Um, but the reaction was really good. The connection was really good. So yeah. But then the world has changed forever.
It's definitely changed.
Yeah.
And so you still have a lot of work there and connections there, and you're very much in, you know, a pre-COVID world. You were going back and forth frequently. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
And I born and raised in Istanbul actually. And I came to New York to study my MFA degree on
Okay.
photography and video and related media in 2011, so almost 10 years ago. So it's been 10 years that I've been working and living here in Istanbul, back and forth. It's kind of always was my like dream life, being able to go to different cultures and like being able to experience both. But I must say it's challenging most of the time. It's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can only imagine with your family there and having gotten your bachelor's degree in Turkey, correct? And you came over. It's interesting. We have so many of our art fair artists have graduated with their master's degree from SVA. And I find it, it just maybe just serendipitous in a way, but a lot of folks went to SVA. They have a very large graduate class every year. I do know, but it seems to be a similar trajectory for a lot of folks that are out of towners, both international and national folks come to New York to
Yeah.
study and you just stay.
Yeah. That's, that's the point. Usually people, I mean, that's not the main reason to come to New York, but it's always an excuse to
Sure.
move
Yeah.
here. And then, just if you like it, you try to stay, and you
Mhm.
really want to stay, you do.
Yeah.
So there were two options, London or New York. I applied to several schools, and I had London Royal College for photography, and I had New York. But I ended up picking New York because I
Mhm.
felt like more interdisciplinary approach.
Mm. Yeah, 'cause your work really it tells that tale. You know, you started in some of the earlier work. I know you're going to talk about. You were doing a lot of modeling or like miniatures, and how those started informing your work in such an intricate way. And then, kind of, as we continue talking and looking more at your work, I was so fascinated in my deep dive looking more and more at your work that the miniatures still very much exist, only in a digital world, right? In a flattened perspective, and the things that we were going to kind of address today. But the being in New York, did you meet your husband in New York?
Yeah, yeah,
Ah, very nice. And has he gone back with you to Turkey?
yeah. He loves Turkey. He
Oh,
wants to go back a lot, more than me. He wants to there too, like part time. So he's really into it, which is I'm so lucky about it.
yeah, yeah. And so a lot of your work has a very strong concept of masculinity and the query around masculinity, and whether you address very without saying it loudly, toxic masculinity, as well as the ideas around gender for this very bifurcated, or the non-hetero, very heteronormative cis male culture, I suppose you would say. And even though your your work has so much entailing this idea of masculinity, or questioning what masculinity is, and especially for a gay man,
Yeah,
and growing up in a Muslim country, with Erdogan, the dictator. It's like, I
yeah.
think that it's a very loaded topic for you. And early on, you started addressing some of these ideas, even about circumcision.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. And I guess that's a good segue to kind of look at some of these like miniatures, or the kind of, Sinan, tell us a little bit like how you did get started in this very multi-dimensional practice.
Well, I always wanted to become an architect. So
Mm,
that's how it all started. Because I'm so interested, I'm so into spatial memory and how people make relations with space and stuff. But then I wanted to become an actor, wanted to be on stage, like, so I did theater and, at school theaters and stuff. And then I wanted to become a photographer, a fashion photographer at first. So today, actually, I didn't become any of those, but actually I do them all at the same time. Uh,
yeah, so true. I really love the fact that you want to be an actor because of all of your self-referential or self-portraits, and all of the myriad of Sinans that are in the work.
exactly. So it's kind of interesting because right now I feel like I work as like a team. I design the sets and like the composition and everything. I make the sets. Then I pose, I become the subject by myself. I photograph myself. I perform for those personas. And then I photograph myself, I document it, which is like multidisciplinary approach to my work, which is I enjoy the most. So it's how it all started, basically. But then yeah, like this, my relation with architects. So as I said, I wanted to become an like fashion photographer at some point, and I wanted to create the sets that I was dreaming of, like the big sets, like surreal stuff. But as a student, especially, I didn't have a budget to create like big sets or stuff. So, and I was like, okay, what can I do about it? I can make like small scale models. You know, I have a talent for it. I know it's time consuming, but less, you know, more affordable. So why not? So actually, that's how all it started, making small scale models. And then, do you want me to do share the
Yeah,
screen? Would you
let's
like to
get
see,
into the
or?
nitty gritty of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be, let me go very quick to this. Where am I? I'm here. Okay, so I'm sharing now, I guess. You see it, right?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, good. Um, so yes, so making small scale models. So I specifically chose this one because this is a project that's where my, let's say, my career really started.
Mm.
So this story behind it is so interesting, and it's really actually affected my perspective, my perception in life. So my parents' apartment, where I used to live in Istanbul, basically was across the Bosphorus. Bosphorus, it's like, it's not a river, but it looks like a river. Basically, it's sea. And one side is European side, and the other side is Asian side. So we used to live in the European side, and on the Asian side, across the water, there is a mention of a very famous Turkish diva. Her name is Sezen Aksu. Like, she is like,
Mm.
I don't know how to describe, but it's between like Cher and Barbara Streisand, maybe like a Turkish, you know, like,
Queer icons, yeah.
yeah, she's a like queer icon. She's a big icon. So basically, I started to stalk her house, which is like my point. I mean, I really wanted to see the inside of the house. I really wanted to see like which room is, where is the which room, you know. And I guess from that's like pursuing that spatial memory, I really wanted to see and identify her as a diva, you know, like I make a relation with it. So, and I make a stop motion video by myself. But it was so creepy because I couldn't tell to anyone, not to my family, not to my friends, because I was thinking like they're going to be scared and they're going to be like, oh, okay, he's going crazy. But then I made a stop motion video, and people really loved it, like my friends and everything. And they were like, you have to find a way to show it to her. But I
Mhm.
was like, how? I don't know her, you know? And I was just like graduate from undergrad. So after a long time of like trying to, you know, reach out to her, I did. And we met, and she loved the video. And she asked me to her house to do an official music video for her.
Wow.
So this is how it all started. This, you see the miniature here. I'm really sorry. Ah, sorry, I have to do. So me and my friend for 3 months, like day and night, it was really a crazy journey. We created her house as a small scale miniature
Wow.
with her puppets in it to to do a music video for her. So as you can see here on the left, her house, like the real house, and on the
Mhm.
right side, the miniature we made. Um,
Just beautiful, that home.
it
Wow.
is beautiful, yeah, and I was really attracted to it. And we made the video, and at the final scene, she was with the miniature. So for me, it was a amazing beginning actually, because I know it might sound really cheesy, but you know, like the secret, and if you believe in something, you can achieve it. You know, I really believe in it. Like I really believe in secrets or those type of stuff, I guess.
Manifestation, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just showing you some images from that video. Like
These are
everything.
fantastic. So you created and sculpted every single one of these objects, or
Yeah.
did you go and find someone at a
Me,
miniature store?
me, yeah, me and my friend, basically we went to home, photographed everything, every single objects,
Oh wow, okay, yeah, deep.
and we made them at small scale.
Wow. And
So
what are those made out of? Like for instance, the plates and stuff. Are those clays?
clays, woods, glass, metals, everything.
It's great.
So maybe I can show you a little clip from it.
Please.
Her ayrılık zor, bin yıldır söyler dururum. Öğrenmiyor kalp, görür yüzüne durum. İnsan biraz olsun akıllanmaz mı? Büyümez mi er geç yanarda gibi için sönmez mi? Bu sinsi ateş belki mi
So basically, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yine kapıda kara geceler ay çileli başım ortasında
We can't hear you, Sinan. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Oh,
You share
I know
your
this is
screen. You have to press that little button that says this will also require like sound. There's like a
yeah. Okay. Because it's tricky when I use the sound. I want to speak too, but I don't know if you are gonna hear me or something.
Yeah, I know it's very. I don't think we weren't hearing you for that matter.
Yeah. So it's challenging. Anyways, that was the start, and with this video, I won the best music video of the years from like several awards, and it was the first music video I ever made. I am specifically into music videos because I'm probably the last generation who grew up with MTV. And MTV and like making music videos was always a dream for me. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna come back to this music video part again. So
yeah, it's really incredible too, just to understand the power in having that dream, having that deep desire, just making and doing things for the love and the passion of doing something, and then introducing it as a long shot to someone that is an idol of sorts. And you just don't know where you're going to go with something until you ask. And I know that asking has a lot to do with in other terms, entitlement sometimes. But as you ask, and there's this really fantastic passage in this book called Culture Shock. Anyway, it's about raising kids, but it talks about how there's just varying approaches to parenting in relationship to helping your child understand that it is okay to ask tough questions. You have to be able to take the no. They have to be able to, you have to teach, you have to teach rejection. You have to ask before you can get anywhere, right? And even asking yourself, like, am I crazy for doing this? And you're like, no, I love it.
Exactly. And like specifically this project taught me that like if I really want to do something, there's nothing that can limit me. It might happen, it might not, but it's worth a try. And with everything that I have. So since then, the first question is when I make a project or something, it's like, do I get excited by it? Do I really want to do it? That's the first question I ask myself. And if I don't feel passionate about it, I question it, Yeah.
Yeah, that makes that makes designers out there probably shaking in their boots because there's so often you have to work with clients and even artists that work on consignment basis,
Exactly. Yeah,
whether or not they're really going to be invested or we need the money. It's how you
exactly.
compromise your own personal belief system in relationship to the money.
Yeah.
But this
Yeah, that's a
particular,
process. Like you have to learn how to negotiate and make compromises and like sacrifices, but still like defend your work.
yeah.
And it's a constant process. But
And then that brought you to making more like a fine art
yeah,
installation and video project slash work of arts. And this is, I think, a scene from that early on.
yeah, this is the project I made actually in my first year in New York. It's called Mummy's Not Home.
Mhm.
Basically, I was always interested in gender and gender representation and how it's really performed in my culture, like Turkish cultural landscape. So
Yeah.
this project was specifically about Turkish melodramas that I watched. I used to watch when I was a kid.
Mhm.
So these are actually really old melodramas from 60s and 70s, but they rebroadcasted on TV when I was a kid in 90s. Um, so these movies are really special for me because I was a single child. I'm a single child, and my parents were working all day, so I was alone by myself after school. I was spending my time alone. And I always had those movies on TV on. So, like while doing my homeworks and stuff. So, that's why I feel somehow connected with those female characters in those melodramas. I feel like they're in absence of my mom, they were kind of there for me at home. Um, so that's why I did this project. So what is this project about? Basically, these are all miniatures again, all small scale models. And I did models of those houses were used in those movies.
Mm.
So basically, because of lack of budgets in 60s and 70s, they had to use the same houses over and over again for like hundreds of movies. So basically, you see this house, specifically this one, in like, I don't know, maybe 50 different movies, and kind of similar stories. So it's so surreal that the space, it's always the same, the sets is always the same, but just the actors and stories can differ a little bit. So I was really interested by it. So again, as a small scale miniature, I made the models and I did videos with the actors. Well, they're actually my friends, but those female stereotypes in those movies. Because like in melodramas, females are usually very loud, but actually passive characters.
Mhm.
And always they assign something to do, like always have to be looking up for a man or to get married, or always like suffer and in search of love and
Mhm.
dependent on male figures. So for me, that was really interesting to explore through those stereotypes. Um, so as you can see, I recreated all those characters. But this is a multi-channel video project. I'm gonna show you. Um, let's see this video. Maybe it's gonna be better.
Sinan, is there any soundtrack for this or any audio?
So basically, this was a 10 channel.
A 10 channel video installation, and which I showed in my first solo show in New York, in Brooklyn Photo Industries in 2016, using the TVs that I watched those movies, like those 90s movie TVs, CRT
Absolutely.
monitors.
Mhm.
So again, I can say, like, the space and gender for the first time probably in this project was present. But the man was absent. So my thesis project,
Mhm.
my thesis teacher at School of Visual Arts was Sarah Charlesworth, and it was her last year. Unfortunately, she passed away after our thesis year. And when I made this project, the first questions she asked me was, "Where are the men? Why are they absent?"
Mm.
And I was like, wow, like that was a huge question. I didn't know the answer.
Yeah, it
And
almost feels deliberate.
yeah, yeah. And that day I realized that, yeah, I really have to pursue masculinity and like male, which is
Mhm.
my biggest issue. It's just right there, but I can't really see it. Or I try not to see it. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? So um, that's why suddenly everything became more about male body.
Mhm.
And I came to this point of my thesis project, which was about male circumcision. Um, so in Turkish culture, I just don't want to go so deep about it because it's a huge topic by
Yeah.
itself.
Yes.
But male circumcision is a tradition, like it's a long tradition. It's like a intense and deep tradition, but also it takes place as a wedding ceremony, like usually on stage with the presence of family members, friends, and everybody is just watching you while it's performed on your body.
Wow. How old are the boys? It's like a rite of passage, 13, 14, or how old?
No, usually younger, usually
Okay.
more like younger, but I wasn't that young. I wasn't that little. I was 8 years old, eight
Uh,
or nine, because I really didn't want to do it for a long
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And my parents tried to, just tried a lot. It took some years for them, for me to be agreed on this. Because
Wow.
I was like, what's the point? Why do we have to do this? I
Yeah.
know there are like biological explain, there are reasons behind it, but still I was like, why? And when you have this circumcision, everybody was like, your peers and your friends, everybody thinks like you became a real man, you
Right.
know so it was a must.
Mm.
So in my thesis project in SVA, I specifically went through this ceremony, and I was like, okay, I just want to go back to that trauma, whatever it is, and I just try to recreate those sets from my memory,
Mhm.
like how that space was it, how that was the ceremony was, because I was kind of anesthetic, everything was a little bit like not clear that much for me.
Mhm.
So basically it was interesting for me. It was hard, but also very effective for me to go back to my memory about it, about that experience.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, it is really so traumatizing me. I mean, it's already, I mean, it's an important part of the Jewish faith as well. And yet the brisk is, at a baby age, and there's still tons of writing about the trauma that's inflicted on the young boys at that age, let alone at
yeah,
8 and younger. And there's
yeah,
also this, I know we don't want to go down the rabbit hole on it. It just feels like that very sensitive part of the penis
yeah,
is that which almost could turn, a macho man you know, with a little bit more femininity, or the counter to what is macho, that which is sensitive or feminine or lunar or yang, yin, you know, versus the yang. But
Yeah.
Anyway, these are, you know, I applaud you for going back to it and recreating these scenes.
Yeah. And it's, as you said, it is always considered as like taking apart your feminine side from
Yeah,
you, and then you become, okay, like a real man.
right.
So the main goal in this project was like, what about trying to get back that foreskin again? Like, what
Yeah.
about like being detached and attached again? Like, is it possible to be attached again? Is it possible to be a whole again? That's
Mm,
why the name of the series, it's Whole. Basically, that was the question in my mind during this project. Like a tree, like a prawn tree, you know,
mm,
you cut it to make it bigger and more fertile, but actually, so that is the metaphor it's always used for circumcision. So that's why I was trying to get back those branches back,
yeah.
but I realized that it's impossible. So
Hmm.
um
And
yeah,
so the whole series then is a recreation from memory.
yeah,
However, it's working towards the reattachment.
yes, exactly,
Mm,
exactly. So yeah, that was the first time I really look into masculinity and like
mm,
what does it mean to me. And I use myself as a model in it, which made it extra personal. Um, but yeah, I think it was a good starting point for me.
mm.
This is from the exhibition, the thesis exhibition in New York. So how it was exhibited.
And so that's just like a silky translucent, like an organza or something, I'm assuming, or like a silk gauze.
Yeah, yeah, because
And
it's kind of like a veil, you know, you can really see what's going on behind, but not really. And it reminds me that
mm,
anesthetic feeling that I had that day, you know, with the anesthesia, sorry. So it was like everything was a little bit, you know, not clear,
huh,
uh, up and down. And so that's why I use this veil, the curtain, the
yeah.
fabric.
But the viewer
Uh,
is still allowed to go back behind the curtain.
yeah, it's
Could,
totally up to viewer, which I love,
okay.
especially in my work, because totally up to the viewer to pass it or not. You know, I try to give. I wanted the viewer to be involved in the work more, the space itself.
Yeah.
Anyways, from this issue, I'm gonna go to another chapter in my work, in my practice, which is like I was always inspired by miniature, like medieval miniature paintings, usually like Persian ones,
Mhm.
Ottoman ones. um, so like using my in my work, I just wanted to add more people in it, and I wanted to do it, you know, like more detailed and bigger scenes. But I was like, how it's going to be possible, because I want to see everybody, like I want to have so many people in it. But with the previous setups, it was harder to depict everybody and make everybody visible. So that's why I came with the idea of how can I use Ottoman, like the miniature painting in my work? How can I benefit from this aesthetics? So that was the question. And, you know, for the first time in my life, when I moved to New York in Met, I strongly recommend to go and see that section if you didn't. They're like the miniatures, the
Oh
Persian
yeah.
miniature section. It was my like, oh my God, it was so amazing to see them in person,
They're
and
magnificent.
like small and like very intimate feeling with them. You know, I love that relationship. Um, so that's why I decided to apply that to my work.
Hmm.
So it was
Only much flatter.
much flatter, and I was like, how can I you know, I just wanted to eliminate the lighting and everything from it and make it more like just single point without single point perspective, you know, more flat
Yeah.
and more illustrative, more layers. So these are my first tries.
And the subjects that you're putting into these flattened kind of Ottoman-esque imageries, are you getting models? Are you just shooting? Or I mean, these works that don't have you, you know,
Yeah.
2,000 times, but like yeah. So who are your models or characters here?
Just family, friends, yeah, just people around me.
But you're directing them.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I find them the clothes and everything. I do the wardrobe, and then I give them some ideas, and I create a character for each figure. Like I gave them a name. I tell them a little bit like background story. You are a woman in 40s and you are from that neighborhood, and like you have 3 kids.
Yeah.
And they're not actors or actresses, so it's fun and it's really amazing to do that experience together, because they try to imagine it, but not professionally, which is I kind of like it. And it's important to create people we can see on the street easily. You know what I'm saying? Like not fictional. And then I came to so I basically spent more time on it. And I wanted to make this miniature aesthetic even more in detail. So in this project specifically, this is called Public Intimacy. It's a series on the classical, like the conventional wedding ceremony in Turkey.
So the previous ones were 2011.
Yes.
And these are 2015. So these are still about 5 years. You could see the lapse in the execution, I guess is the best way to say.
Yeah.
These ones that you're 4 years later really have a unique development to them, relationship to the setting and the overall direction. You can really see the growth there, I guess I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because I spend more time on it. I spend more time on miniature, and I try to learn better. And in this one specifically, everything was more planned out better. So as if you look at them closely, you can see their faces belong to the same person.
Yeah.
So in other words, in the miniature paintings, usually people look alike each other. They are very stereotypical. They look alike, anonymous. So I really wanted to create that anonymous feeling. And I come up with this idea, like I photograph different people's bodies, like, different people, but the same person's face. And then I juxtapose them digitally, which was amazing. It's kind of because those people doesn't really belong. It doesn't really exist. So that was very exciting for me to create people like, oh, sorry. So you can see that these are all the same people.
It's so interesting too, Sinan. I mean, you really are careful in the presentation of the same face, because even some seem in heavier set bodies have a fuller, jawline, or there's the older or younger or thinner.
Yeah.
You really taken time and care to, have it match the body.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have to be real to me. I think that's the key point. Like when I combine them together, I just don't want to create a parody. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there's a little difference between that. Like it can easily be a parody, but I just want them to be ironic. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's why for me, it's important to be real as much as possible in terms of like gestures or stories, but the setups are not real at all. You know, I really like that combination.
Mhm.
So this is from a scene from a wedding night. So basically in this series, I was pursuing the wedding ceremony and different chapters
Yeah.
of it, let's say, and how relatives are really involved in it. And especially in Turkey, because it's more traditional culture. So the wedding, it's kind of everything, you know, I mean, a heterosexual wedding. So,
Yes.
and this is an illegitimate bachelor party that, you know, it just, but still the same people, same woman and same man. Um, and I really try to create a dialogue between the works itself as well. So maybe for the first time, I realized how important, how different frames or different scenes can talk to each other, you know? So,
Yeah, I was thinking about that with Mama's Not Home.
mm,
That work as it was assembled, I was, you know, most curious and wondering whether or not the monitors interacted, or the videos of the monitors interacted with, you know, the way it was stacked. However, you can really see this here too. I love the frame and the spilling over the frame and these works as well. They do truly interact, even, you know, with the figures looking towards each other in the diptych or triptych.
yeah.
But this is not an intentional triptych, is it? Or you would sell these individually, or you sell them, they're editioned?
Yeah, I mean, I sold them individually,
Yeah.
but this was a triptych. Like, actually, it became a triptych on the road. You know, when you first start, usually it's different, but on the road, everything changes. So I love this as a triptych because I think it's really underlines the message that I want to say, I want to give, and how in Turkish culture we are like really caught in the middle and like limited by tradition, religion, and everything. And that's why people are more repressed by those values. And, you know, as in this party, because of this, all of that pressure, people have more tendency, like in aggression, the violence, and everything like that. So if you look at, for instance, the scene in the middle, if you look at it closely, you can see like lots of violence going on as well. So I kind of
Yes.
like to put those like very traumatic scenes and moments in like as details. So if you look at it closely, you can see it, but or the viewer can see it, but it's totally up to the viewer.
Yeah. And correct me or remind me, is this the work that made it to Switzerland, Lucerne, the Musée de Élysée?
Yeah, in Switzerland. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a show. Basically, the first time it was shown in that museum in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and then it became a part of their collection there. Yeah. So in this point, maybe I can go a little bit back to my music video journey. So as I told you in the beginning, I did like the Turkish diva, and you know, I did a music video for her, and years after we did our second video together. So is it okay if I show a few clips from like 3 to 4 videos? I don't know what time is it,
Absolutely,
but
absolutely. Yeah, we're doing, we got 15 more minutes, and I
oh
definitely
really?
want to make it to your most current body of work. But I certainly love these videos so much, and I think it gives the audience a real taste of your directorial prowess.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they're just magnificent, and in conversation too with your creative fine art work and photography.
That's amazing. Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that because that's really important for me, as I said. So I'll be showing them very quickly and then I pass to my last body of work.
Great.
Herkes bu kadar ciddi, okunmamış kitaplar ama ciddi. Asık asık yüzü insanlar, da yüreğine kadar kilitli. Ne gülümseme ne günaydın yok, tabii üçüncü sayfada olay çok. Haberlerim son dakika şok şok, yaşamak inatına hemen şimdi. Yaşıyoruz nesinler diye, bizi çok sevsinler diye. Parti parti rollon, bize getir aşk kalbi kalbi rollon. Hadi bu neyin harbi harbi yaşasın hayat budur manifesto. Rollon hadi hop gel parti parti rollon, bize getir aşk kalbi kalbi rollon. Hadi bu neyin harbi harbi yaşasın hayat budur manifesto. Dersiz yol yine rüzgara, önümüzde sen bir güç var. Parti parti rollon, bize getir aşk kalbi kalbi rollon. Hadi bu neyin harbi harbi yaşasın hayat budur manifesto. Rollon hadi hop gel parti parti rollon, bize getir aşk kalbi kalbi rollon. Hadi bu neyin harbi harbi yaşasın hayat budur manifesto. Niye herkes bu kadar ciddi, okunmamış kitaplar ama ciddi. Asık asık yüz insanlar, da yüreğine kadar kilitli. İçimdeki o oyun bahçesi, ne boyası ne boyası ne de maskesi. Hadi kapa gözünü bir hayal kur, la la la la Luna Park sahnesi. Dersiz yol yine rüzgâra, önümüzde sen bir güç var. Rollon hadi pop gel parti parti rollon, bize getir aşk kalbi kalbi rollon. Hadi bu neyin harbi harbi yaşasın hayat budur manifesto. Rollon hadi pop gel parti parti rollon, bize getir aşk kalbi kalbi rollon. Hadi bu neyin harbi harbi yaşasın hayat budur manifesto. Rollon gel parti rollon, bize getir aşk kalbi rollon. Hadi bu neyin harbi.
Okay, I'm going. That was an amazing place, a carpet place. So basically, a carpet producer. They make the carpets and they lay down almost like 30,000 carpets every year, sun dry for the colors. This is another music video in which we switch the roles. For usually before the wedding, the bride does this the henna ceremony for bride, but in this video we just switched it to a male. So. And a last example of music video, which is kind of close to my work a lot, especially my my miniature stuff. Like I have characters in it, so you can see this as a video version of those miniatures.
Ben yoruldum, sığamadım her yerden denize yakışan martı gibiyiz. Nereye eserse oraya gideriz. Tekrarlı hayal hakikattir. Ölüm var ve bu bir rüyadır. Derdim derdine ortak olsun. Salla ve hayal rock'n'roll. Tekrarlı hayal hakikattir. Ölüm var ve bu bir rüyadır.
So the idea was basically to bring people together, but the people, like real people, there were not actors, just from the street, like the real people who are usually can't be together, or they are not supposed to be together. And we really wanted to underline the diversity we have in Turkey, which is, there's lots of conflict in
Yeah.
and it's always very polarized culture. So that was important to bring all those different type of people together in the same minibus, and to do a journey together.
Mhm. The singer seems very young.
What is it?
The artist, the singer, she seems so young.
Yeah. I mean, she's same age as me. I'm 34. Yeah, but yeah.
Very cool. And now, are they approaching you, Sinan? I mean, they ask for a pitch, or there's like, hey, Sinan, I really love this video. It's kind of obviously on the backs of the last one you're doing. Like, my question: do they approach you, or do you go out there and pitch for them?
Well, it depends. I usually, you mean like creating the story together?
Yeah. Well, for instance, how do they choose you, or do you put
Well,
in front of them?
yeah, I usually, it's interesting because I usually choose them too, like
Right.
somehow like, getting connected to people or social media and like,
Mhm.
knowing each other. It's for me as well, it's very important to, because I'm not I really don't consider myself as a full-time music video director.
Right.
That's why it's important for me to enjoy the singer or like them, their work, because it's for me it's more like a collaboration more than like a client and director relationship.
Absolutely.
um,
You're working with like a director of photography, you're working with a musician, you're working with other production assistants and so on and so forth. With the one with the carpets, that it was a little hard to hear you when you were talking about it, but you just let folks know, that space is actually, I mean, that wasn't something that you set up. That's a real life space where they um,
yeah,
sun soak the carpets for how long?
for like 4 or 5 months,
Wow.
basically for entire from spring till fall.
Wow. Wow.
So it's an area like in the south of Turkey. So basically, they don't get rain during the summertime. So they just lay down there like 30,000 carpets every year, which is amazing. Like, yeah, it was so crazy, the atmosphere of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like a surreal place.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really and there's a drone, and some of the shots that you were getting are just magnificent. And okay, so tell us a little bit about this. Go play in the back room.
Well, actually, this is all from my last exhibition in
Okay.
Istanbul. What I told you, like at the beginning, at the very beginning.
Yes.
So in this project, in this show, which is called "Reserved for the Man I Never Became,"
Mm.
it is basically the idea was, how would it feel to recreate all those male groups that I never became a part of? Like, um, let me go
quickly, especially as a kid, always like I born and raised in Istanbul, so in the city, but all the kids used to go on the streets and play with each other, and usually like the boys supposed to play soccer together, and I hated playing it, and that's why I never went out to play with them. So basically that's how it all started for this series, for this exhibition. So I asked myself, what about like just to recreate that scene, like those kids who used to go out and play soccer. um let me see very quick. And for this, for the first time, maybe I just did all those personas. These are all me, like using different like hair, makeup, and wardrobe, and like, you know, digitally manipulated and everything. So basically, I tried to create different characters, different boys, and to create my own soccer team. Um, so that was the idea, and that was the actually that was an attempt to go deeper with masculinity. And the way to go deeper with that was to pursue the marks of it on my own body. In other ways, like it's so interesting because basically when I was shooting for this project myself, when I was in front of camera, I realized how easy for me to act like as a man, like a real man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that made me to realize that this is all a performance. Like gender, it's something we perform. We learn, like, you know, we learn how to perform it. And so it was, for me, was very, very interesting to, you know, explore that through this project. So there are like few scenes from it. This is like Bridal House. This is more like when we go, like in Turkey, every man has to go to military service at certain age. So before going to that service, all that like male friends, they do kind of celebration for it, to glorify your masculinity and also like your country and nation, with the nationalistic point of view.
It's the amount of creative, you know, the character development, I suppose you would say, is just so telltale here.
Yeah, again, and especially when I'm in front of the camera, that's even harder. It doesn't really make it easier, but it's harder because it's like you have to really go out and like consider yourself as a subject, like, you know, or as an object most of the time, which is so hard. And that makes it so complicated, but also more valuable for me in a way.
Yeah.
And this is a military dorm, which, you know, which I didn't do that service. So for me, it was interesting to see, to create scenarios that I never been involved. Yeah.
Sinan, you said it was mandatory. You didn't do it because you went to the States, or?
Yeah, I went to the States, and then I was so lucky that in my time, they did they did a specific thing for that year. So basically, I paid for that service, so I didn't have to do it.
Oh, nice.
But it was like a limited amount of time, and I was just right into the criteria, so I could do it, and I did it. And I want to ended up with this project lastly, which is a part of my show as well, a paper doll book. So again, as a kid, I always wanted to be play with paper dolls, which is like, you know, it was designed for the girls, but I could get them secretly and play with them secretly. So years after, I decided to make a book using myself for, I think, do I have it? Yeah, using myself as a paper doll. because mainly all I've shown you here, and especially gender, as I said, it's something like we perform and we try on, and like it's kind of clothes, something we put on. So departing from that idea, I think the paper doll was just the best way for me to explain what I'm trying to say in my work.
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
And I mean, gender too, just,
oh, sorry.
oh, I love it. But just understanding gender is also taught,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you learn it through society or societal norms. And I mean, there's so many conversations in queer theory in relationship to that, but then also turning it on its nose and saying it's also part of the hippocampus and this understanding of hormones and the hormone bath. And if you want to get all scientific about it, just like having, a certain amount of change in your endocrine system to be more feminine or more male. And I do very much agree about the performance, and your work definitely speaks to it so eloquently.
mm,
And I think part of that, like, idea of you beginning as a potential architect or beginning as a potential actor or beginning and getting a degree in graphic design and photography, also felt, all of those things just slide so naturally. And the ability to speak to these very important topics of gender stereotypes.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. I mean, yeah. It's um, because I didn't know what I'm gonna become when I first started. Yeah, I studied graphics. I studied photography. What am I gonna do? Am I gonna be But at the end, it's all really in relation to each other, which is amazing, which is what I dream of.
Yeah,
Like sometimes I become an architect in my mind and create the sets, then I do the styling, but then I direct it, I post, it's hard, but also it's what I really love.
absolutely. Well, Stina, will you stop sharing your screen so we can just say goodbye real
Oh
quick?
yeah, sure. Am I doing this? What?
Here you go. Hey there.
Can
Um,
you, did I stop it?
yeah, you're good.
But I don't see it. Sure.
Hi. Well, we have surpassed our times 1903 at this point, but I'm
Oh,
so glad that we had the time, the energy, and the insights that you shared with us about your work, your practice, and your experience in history and how you got here.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for having me. Hopefully, it wasn't overwhelmed for anyone. I know, like, there was lots of stuff to show, but yeah, I think it was important to show them all somehow to reflect my journey and everything. So thank
Absolutely.
you so much for having me, and it
Thank
was
you. Thanks for
amazing to talk.
art fair. And
Yeah,
you have some of the work that we saw, um, the marriage ceremony works that from 2017 still on Art Fair, and we brought you
yeah,
down to
yeah.
not Miami last year, and there's still some really great work to be seen, and for you in the future. And thanks again, Sinan, and thanks for being a great role model for young men, certainly in Turkey, that may question their sexuality and the space.
Thank you. Hopefully, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I hope for.
Well, I hope you get back there in the near future,
Yeah.
and give my best to your hubby. And I think I see him, but take care of yourself. And if you missed any of the conversation here with Sinan, thank you everyone for participating and logging on. This will be uploaded in YouTube in the next few days, and you can check it all out there. All right.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, Sinan.